evening, everyone. Thank you for joining for another session of Azure Power Lunch. And once again, the disclaimer for the recording that as you know, we record these calls and place our recordings on our YouTube channel. So if you don't want to be recorded, you may want to drop off now. With that, let's start with our topic of discussion. We have two very interesting updates from um, Azure services. One is the Azure Logic App update, which is the RabbitMQ Connector. It is now in public preview. We will take a look at that. And the second one is the ability to send native service bus messages from API management, and it's also in public preview. So it's going to be a demo filled session, but just let's start with a few slides. And basically, what we're going to do, we're going to do a quick feature overview of each feature that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to do a demo. Okay. So, though this a deep dive, in-depth overview of RabbitMQ is out of the scope of this discussion, just want to mention that RabbitMQ is a very popular open source message broker built on AMQP. A number of organizations are using it, and it's very popular. And it has all the capabilities that a message broker has. You can extend it through plugins, and at the same time, it does support, all the integration scenario that have that you want a message broker to support. So, as you know, that Logic Apps is one of the key piece of Microsoft integration platform, and the goal is to bring together wherever the customer is in, provide them the ability to integrate with different services. Doesn't matter those services belong to Microsoft or open source or any other cloud provider. So with that, so that's the kind of a quick overview of AMQP. So what capabilities that are coming with this connector, which is in public preview, some of the key things that are coming is ability to first of all send messages. So you can send a message, so send operation. You can do a complete message. So basically, as you know, in um, messaging, you send a message, or sorry, you receive a message, you put a lock on it, you do the message processing. If the message processing is successful, then you tell the broker, hey, I have completed the message. So it removes it from the queue. Otherwise, it will reappear. So that's type of functionality you are allowed to do. And at the same time, it has triggers which you can, which allows you to receive a message. So basically, you can have a workflow, a Logic app workflow that is triggered when a message arrives in the queue. So that's capabilities there, and also you can create a queue as well. Okay, so in order to test it, you have to have a RabbitMQ cluster, and the thing is, I have a third-party resource in the end which tells you how to create that cluster. You can basically, very simple, you can create an Azure VM, install RabbitMQ on it, and that's all. And basically, there is an image available in Azure Marketplace. This is a free image. Just keep in mind, it's a free image. So just spin up a Linux VM, or sorry, just spin up this image directly. You don't have to do anything. Just go in the marketplace, spin up this free image, and it will have all the stuff that you need to run the RabbitMQ cluster. Just keep in mind you have to open two ports, 5672 for the broker communication and 15672 if you want to run the management console. We are running the management console, so I recommend you do that. And then there are some steps which require you to create a new user and give them admin access. And by the way, this is not a production cluster, so you can name whatever you want. I just did test as user ID password. So just to run it, just to test it out, okay? And then once everything is there, you should be able to access the console at this address. And once again, quick disclaimer, this is not for production, this is just for demonstration. So you can test this connector out. Okay. So let's quickly jump into the demo for this. Let me just go in quickly here. Let me show you what I have. I have this virtual machine. This virtual machine is running, and this is running Debian, and this is the Bitnami uh, RabbitMQ image that I was talking about. Okay, so I just took this image and run it, and this is running the RabbitMQ cluster. Just want to mention it, if you want to play with the demo, it will be easier. And as I said, that there is a link in the documents, a third-party link, which will goes each step how to set it up. Okay, once that is done, you should be able to access the portal or the management console. So this is the RabbitMQ server. This is my VM. This is the port number, and that's how I'm accessing it. As you can see, that there are, it shows you different entities. At this moment, I have a couple of queues here, test001 and Logic App Demo. Okay, so these are the two things that I have. Okay, so now let's quickly go into since we only have 30 minutes and a lot of stuff to cover, so let's quickly go in and go into the demos. So first of all, here we are. We have a Logic app, and as you can see, I'm playing with some demos. So let's first let's see how we can send a message. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a workflow, and I'm going to name it 01 stateful. Let's create that workflow. And then once that workflow comes in, I'm just going to do a request. This is when an HTTP request arrives. And for that, I'm just going to use a sample payload, and I'm going to name it message hello. So this is the message, so it can generate the workload. By the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, so that's that. The next is the interesting part. Add an action, and this time I'm gonna use RabbitMQ, and as you can see, it's in preview. So just keep that in mind. And we are going to send a message. And in this one, I'm gonna name the queue name. So this is my queue name. So let's get that copied over. Um, Logic App Demo. So here I am going. And the message body, I'm gonna get the message body from the message that is coming in. Very simple. And what about the connection? Okay, so let me tell you how the connection string look like. If I try to do a new connection, this is how the connection string will look like. Okay, and you can read about it. Um, as you can see here, the first one is the protocol. It's AMQP, then user ID, password, at. This is gonna be the FQDN or IP address, and this is the port. Okay, so that's how the connection will look like. At this moment, I'm not going to create a new connection. I already have one, and you can read more about it. This is just a demo. So as you look deeper into RabbitMQ, your connection string may be slightly different. Okay, and let's add a new action, and this time it's going to be a response, and we are gonna send the body message sent. Okay, that's it. Let's save this thing. Okay, and let's go here. It should have generated a URL. Give it a second. The URL is here now. And what we're going to do is we are going to go into VS Code to test it. You know, there is a extension that allows you to do it. I'm using the REST client extension. So I just pasted this here, and I'm going to copy this from here. Okay, So with that, so just quickly, we have just created a workflow. The workflow is running in Azure, and it's calling a RabbitMQ send. So let's send the request. Let's see how it goes. We send the request, HTTP 200, message sent. Okay, so let's confirm that if the message has arrived at the RabbitMQ site. So we go into the RabbitMQ. I'm going to open the Logic app, and look, it says that there is the queued messages. There's one queued message, and what we can do is we can go in here and we can look at that message. Just keep in mind, I am not acknowledging the message, so it will stay in the queue. It's a peak kind of a peak log thing. Okay. And you see here, hello world. So the message is there. Okay. Message got there. So that's that. Okay. Now let's create a trigger to receive this message. Okay. How about that? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send one more message just for the fun of it. So we are going to do hello 01. Okay, and just send the request. So we have a couple of messages, and now we are going to go back to our workflow here and add a new workflow, and we are going to call it. And this time we are going to be using a trigger. Okay, very simple. We come in here, we create the stateful workflow. Okay, so now we are in the designer. And look, we do RabbitMQ. So this is there are two here. One tells you to peak lock, and one is when the message is there. We're just gonna use the simple one. We're just gonna say message is there, and the queue name. We are gonna once again use the same queue name that we used the Logic App demo. So we are gonna use this here. That's it. And connection is the same. So it's gonna run when a message arrives. And in order to check if the message arrives successfully, we are just gonna send an email. Okay. So let's go here. There is 365, Office 365, and I'm gonna send an email. Okay. Um, so this is the send email. Um, demo.com, and so this is my email address. Subject is um, RabbitMQ, and the body, I'm gonna copy the message content data. So think of it, these are all the properties there. Look, delivery, just like, and I'm just gonna copy that here. That's all. And so as soon as I'm gonna save it, since it's a trigger, if there are any messages, it's gonna run. So since we send a couple of messages, it should run. So let's save it. And then we go to run history, and let's refresh it if there are any messages that are coming. Yeah, it is running. There are two messages, so it's running. And I'm not sure if you heard the bell, so it means there's a mail arrived, and you see that hello world from APL, hello world from AP. I mean, nothing very fancy, but just get an idea. The RabbitMQ, now you can communicate from Logic Apps. So if in your organization you have integration needs that you integrate with the RabbitMQ, there's another tool in your hand to integrate with with Logic App, integrate with RabbitMQ, which is now Logic App. One last thing that I want to show you here is creating the queue itself. And for that, I have already, sorry, let me just go back here in the workflows. I already have a workflow. This is the create queue. I'm not going to do it since we are a little bit short on time. So this is the create queue. You give the queue name. Yes, and you can decide. It's going to be a durable queue or like non-durable. You just want to keep the message temporarily. If the broker restart, the messages will go away. So yes, we're doing it. We're just giving it name. I mean, this all these applies when you have like a topic where you want to forward messages to a certain um, uh, you know uh, the whole when you have a topic and you want to send messages to a certain client, that's when you do it. But in this case, in this particular scenario, we are just using a simple queue. So that's all we are doing. And we already have this flow set up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can call it here. So so this is the queue name. I'm going to name it test APL 01. So basically, we are now sending the request, HTTP request to create the queue. Okay. So we send the request. The queue is should be created. Let's go back to our um, RabbitMQ server cluster, and let's look at the queues. Yes, this queue is created. So you see, very simple. We went in, we used the connector to do certain tasks, and of course, um, you just add one more tool to your toolbox. Any questions, folks? Okay, so let's move on to our the second topic that we have, which is the availability to publish native service bus messages. So what this is they have introduced a new policy uh, in public preview, which allows you to do native message publishing to service bus. So no need to calling some component which calls service bus. Basically, from the policy, you can directly write to the service bus. What you need to do is you need to create a managed identity for your API management instance. Second, you need to give that managed identity service bus sender access to the queue, okay, or the topics, okay. And then once you have done that, then you should be able to use that policy. This is called send service bus message policy. So it's going to take whatever the content of the message is and send it to the service bus queue or topic. You can do it both. And why you want to do that? The one of the key advantages that kind of and provide an abstraction on your service bus. So if let's say some customer says, "Hey, I want my partners to send messages." I mean, they're sending these messages, and now you are like looking at, okay, how should I give access to the service bus? You can have this abstraction in the middle. So whatever abstraction you have or whatever security mechanism you have for other APIs, you can use the same security mechanism for the service bus, very uniform way, and makes the integration very uh, simple, and provide you the availability to have a centralized control on, different integrations that are happening through the API management. So that's the goal of this integration. So, any questions, folks? Okay, so let's quickly jump on to the demo piece of it. So what we are going to do is let's go in, and once again we are here. So first of all, I want to show you an API management instance. This is my API management instance, and I have the managed identity enabled for this. So if you can see here, I have given the managed identity self system assigned managed identity. Let's go in. I have an API queue. This is an API that I have created in a service bus. And as you can see here, Azure Service Bus data sender is given, uh, is the role given to the managed identity that I have created. Okay. So that's that. So now let's create an operation and start sending messages. Okay. So let's go into the APIs. I'm going to go into APIs and I am, this is SPDemo API. I'm going to add another API um, operation and I'm going to call it send message APL and it will be send APL. Okay. And let's, once I'm done it, let's save it. And by the way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a post since it's a write operation, so it should be a post. Okay. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to go into the policy. And that's very important to pay attention here. First of all, I am going to write this policy on the inbound side. So this is sending the message. So what it is doing is it is sending the message. This is the API queue. You saw that queue there. This is the name of my service bus management namespace. So this is my service bus namespace. This is the queue. This is the, I'm saying that take the body, preserve content and send it as a payload. That's that. And one other important thing that I need to do is I need to stop the processing right there. I don't want it to call any backend because what's going to happen is if you leave this base here, you see this, what I've highlighted, it's going to try to call the backend, and though you get the message there, you will get a 500 error. So I just want to show it to you. So, first we will get the 500 error and then we will remove it and then we'll come back to it like what is the impacts. Okay. So let's test this message out. We go in here and what we're going to do is we're going to paste it. This is okay. We're going to say hello world from APL. And with that, let's and we're going to do trace. So let's trace the message. And the first time, you see 500 internal server error. And if we look at the trace, it's going to tell you something interesting. Okay, let's go to the trace and let's go towards the backend. Okay, everything is fine. Look, it says um, in the backend service URL is not defined. Yes, it's trying to still send it to backend, but there's no backend. I mean, that policy basically ends it. So let's go into the design and let's make sure. Okay. Um, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into the backend and remove the base. Okay. It means the backend will not be called. Okay. Let's save this thing and let me, sorry. Okay. So I just fixed the spelling, nothing else. Okay. There's no bearing on the result of this test. Okay. We have done it. Now, let's say, okay, before I call it, I just want to show it to you in here. So these are all the peak messages, and you will see the queue go to 20. So because we are sending messages, give it a second to it, for it to refresh. Come on. Okay, let me refresh the whole thing one more time. Hopefully. Okay, so now you see, this is the message that we sent, hello world from APL, and this was sent at 24. So because we ran it twice, remember? So that's why the two messages being sent, but we still got the error. Okay, so now let's run it with this thing, and let's first just send it, and let's see the result. 200 okay. You saw that? And because this time it's did not even go to the backend. It says, okay, there's no backend. I'm just gonna run the policy and return the response, and that's it. So that's all it does. And if you want to return a specific response, I have a sample here, like, and it's in the documentation as well, very well documented, where you can, return a specific response. I mean, you can build your own response and return it, like, set status code, create it if you want to do it, if you have something else that is relying on the response. Okay, so think of it. You are, you just set this policy. You, first of all, you have to do set up the managed identity of the API management, give service bus queue the role on the service bus queue, give this managed identity a Azure Service Bus sender role, then add this policy, and that's it. And then your messages are going in. So if we go back here, you should see, now you're seeing 20, you should see 21 messages. Okay, look, the 21st message arrived. Look at that, it's APL 01. Very simple. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. Um, First of all, any questions? Okay, here's a quick recap. So we covered two updates, one from Azure API Management, which we just talked about. This is the ability to send natively messages directly to Azure Service Bus through a built-in policy. And it supports both topic and subscription. Okay, it is currently in public preview. Second thing is the ability to have the uh, talk to or listen to RabbitMQ through a RabbitMQ connector for Azure Logic Apps. And this is for Azure Logic Apps standard. Just keep in mind, it's not for consumption. So I just want to mention it. It's currently in public preview. It allows you to both send the message to RabbitMQ as well as have a trigger to receive messages from RabbitMQ. And also, as you can see in the resources, once you look at the deck, and by the way, in all of our videos in description, the link to the deck is there, and there is the, how to create a RabbitMQ cluster. It's a third-party link, so you can go in, and if you want to play around with this RabbitMQ connector, and you don't have a RabbitMQ, you can create your own dev cluster and play with it. Um, I know we were right on time. Any questions, folks? Okay. So if there are no questions, thank you for joining and hope to see everybody next week for another session of Azure Power Lunch. Thank you very much.